Howdy, howdy, Eric Arnold here in my Politics Barn, Tuesday, October 8th in the afternoon. Politics Barn is my studio where I can analyze politics here in the swingiest of all swing states, Pennsylvania. I am a Trump voter. I'm giving you my analysis of this race as seen through the eyes of a common sense Trump voter. And a lot of stuff to cover here today, so let's get right into it. Most surprising thing I saw in this past week is that potential first gentleman, should Kamala Harris win, God forbid, should she win, her husband beats women. He beats women. Now, why do I say that? How can I say that without being sued? Well, there was an article a week ago which has been roundly ignored by the state media, Pravda, the Soviet-esque media that we have in this country, which is truly disgusting. Now, when I was a child, back in the 70s and 80s, our teachers would tell us about this horrible place called the Soviet Union and the Iron Wall and how people were all prisoners and sad, and they had to build a wall to keep these people from leaving, to keep them in, and where they weren't allowed to just pick up and leave, and they were basically hostages in their own country. And then the newspapers would all lie to them at every moment and every turn and tell them lies, because of course you have to lie to them because they're prisoners. You don't tell them the truth. Hey, you can't leave because, you know, you're a prisoner. They tell them the truth. You can't tell them that. So they have to lie to them. It's wonderful here. You love it here. Everything's great here. You don't want to go over there. We're the place where we won't let you go, on the other side of the wall. That's horrible. You can't go out there. You'll die. You have to stay here because it's so beautiful and wonderful. So they would lie to him. And I thought, what a horrible place. And here I live in it now. I live in it right now. You turn on any channel, any TV, and it's nothing but lies. You have to know where to go to get any modicum of truth in the media. It's, you wonder how we got here, and I don't know. That's probably a whole series of episodes I could make. Emhoff beating his girlfriend is a story that was released in not an American publication, the Daily Mail, a British website, newspaper, what have you. Go figure, you know, you got to learn this stuff from a foreign publication, not from the American Soviet media. The story is this. Emhoff. Brief history of Emhoff. Emhoff started dating Harris 2013. They got married in 2014, both in their, roughly around 50 years of age. And now they've been married for the past 10 years. Prior to that, Emhoff was married. He was married to, I believe, another lawyer in California, had at least one, maybe two kids with her. That marriage broke up because Emhoff banged the live-in-the-house nanny/tutor. You're saying rich people have tutors and nannies that apparently have their own quarters in your house or something. And I don't know if she was living in the house or not. The key point is he nailed her, probably many times. So she gets pregnant. It's like, wow. That's kind of hard to hide from the wife. You know, how'd that happen? So I guess this comes out then and the wife gets angry. I guess even the, you know, liberal women get angry if you nail the nanny. So the marriage breaks up. He impregnates the nanny. He pays the nanny $80,000 for God knows what, I guess to keep quiet, or what happens. She loses the baby in what Emhoff describes as a miscarriage. The nanny isn't talking. I believe it's totally plausible that it wasn't a miscarriage. Clearly, these people love abortion, and what a perfect time to practice abortion in this situation, right? You got an unwanted pregnancy, and let's just 86 the kid. So I think that's what happened. I have no proof of that, but that's an educated guess as to what happens. There's no proof it didn't happen. So I'm pretty sure that's the 80 grand was part of A, keep quiet, B, you go take care of the kid, and that'll be that. So that's what Emhoff does there to get out of his first marriage. Blows it up by screwing the nanny, getting her pregnant, paying her 80 grand to shut up. Now he's footloose and fancy free. This is about 2010 this happened, 2010. So in between meeting Kamala, he's out there, you know, playing the field. So he's dating a lawyer from New York City. This is, I'm relating to you the Daily Mail story. The woman is anonymous. The Daily Mail knows who it is. They're not telling us who it is. It is a real person. She exists. They have pictures of her that they got from her friends. They blurred out in the article. You know, here's Emhoff with his arm around blurred out entertainment lawyer. They call her Jane. Let's just, for simplicity purposes, also call her Jane. And they date for about 3 months. They go on a trip to the Cannes Music Festival in the south of France. This is probably about, I'm going to say May 2012, give or take. They go to a fancy fundraising event, red carpet, black tie, the kind of thing you see on TV with the limousines and the lights and what have you. So they have a good time, according to Jane, and this story is being related to us by friends of Jane from Jane. In other words, Jane told friends, and the friends talked to the Daily Mail. That's how we know about this story. So the story continues. At the conclusion of the evening, they're trying to leave. Lots of people all trying to leave at once. It's late, 2, maybe 3 in the morning. Doug probably had too much to drink. They're trying to get a cab, big line at the cab stand. Jane gets the bright idea that she's going to cut ahead of all these other people and just slip the valet a couple bucks and get the next cab that comes up rather than waiting in this line, because, you know, these are important people here. So she goes, puts her arm around the valet and schmoozing him and trying to give him some money. And I guess this just trips old Doug's trigger, because at that point he grabs Jane, spins her around, and smacks her. According to the story, hits her so hard she spins around. Jane then continues that she's shocked. She hits him back a couple times. She gets in the cab. Emhoff also gets in the cab, even though she didn't want him to. And they ride back to the hotel. They then go back, you know, I'd like to have seen that awkward scene. Fly home and never see each other again. You know, go figure. Him smacking her in public broke up the relationship. Go figure. Now, again, how do we know about this? Well, the Daily Mail found 3 friends of Jane that told them the exact same story. One of which, Jane called immediately after this happened, while she was in the cab with Emhoff. In other words, bam! Oh my God! Now, my guess is this is probably like a gay friend or something. You know, these, at least that's how I've seen a few episodes of Sex in the City, where they always seem to, these women always seem to have the gay friend that they can cry on his shoulder. And he's safe, of course, because he's gay. So she calls him up and says, oh, can you believe that this guy I'm dating just hit me? Which would be pretty traumatic. So, yes. So this guy tells the Daily Mail, about this story. And then two other friends of Jane tell the exact same story. So you got three friends of Jane telling the exact same story to us, the public. Jane isn't talking. They contacted Jane and they said, so what about this? I mean, three of your friends here have told us this happened, that you told them this, that, your boyfriend at the time, poised to be one of the most powerful men in the universe, did this, smacked you so hard in public it spun you around. Did that happen? And Jane's like, no comment. No comment. Now, I think that tells you all you need to know right there. You're saying, did this really happen? Well, okay, let's think about that. You got three people telling the same story who are telling it 100% against their own political interests. Three people from New York City, one of which is a lawyer, one of which is some kind of wealthy, or the man, the one she called from the cab, he's some kind of executive. People in New York are all Democrats. They're all Democrats. These people certainly want Kamala Harris to win. Jane herself, a lawyer, a female lawyer from New York City, definitely wants Kamala Harris to win. So her saying nothing there, that tells you all you need to know. In other words, if this didn't happen, and not only is the candidate that she wants to win being put in a bad light, but a guy who is totally innocent, let's say, if this is all bullshit, her ex-boyfriend, I mean, unless she really hates the guy and really wants to screw him over, which I guess is possible, but, most people are not that evil. You're being told complete lies about somebody, you would probably step in and go, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't like Doug, but that didn't happen. Most normal people would do that if it were not true. Now, if it is true, but you don't want to get in the crosshairs of one of the most powerful men in America, well, then you might just go, and you don't want to throw your three friends who are probably pretty close friends. I mean, you're calling a guy on the phone after your boyfriend just assaulted you. This guy's probably in the inner circle, if not deep in the inner circle. And you're going to throw him under the bus to protect yourself from this evil man? Maybe that's a bridge too far. So, of course, what you do is say nothing, and that's what she's done. You're not going to get anything from Jane. Jane is never going to confirm this story. She's already confirmed it. By her silence, that's all you need to know. This is a true story. This happened. This guy, for his whatever it's worth, had a flack, a campaign spokesperson say, Doug Emhoff has never been involved in a physical altercation, blah, 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 categorically deny. That's meaningless. It doesn't mean a thing. This guy has to come out and say it. Now, not that I think he'd have a problem doing that, because, if you like to smack women around, lying certainly doesn't seem like it would be a big leap beyond that. So he says this didn't happen. Of course it did. And it surprises me just because, you think of guys that like to hit women as football players, or to use her term in the article, Jane's term, trailer trash. It's like, wow, go figure. It turns out that the rich and hoity-toity like to smack their women around too. How about that? It's not just trailer trash that hit their women. Or maybe it's not trailer trash at all that hit their women. How about that? I've lived in a trailer in my life, and I was thinking about that I'm trying to get into the head of Doug Emhoff, because this is quite a remarkable story that's been covered up here. Quite a remarkable story. This guy is potentially going to live in the White House with the most powerful person in America, if not the world. And he will have unfettered access to this person. Physically, mentally, nobody in between him and her. He could grab her, smack her, he could do whatever he wants. I mean, you know, when the Secret Service are sitting outside the bedroom or the dining room or whatever, and they hear, what are they supposed to do? Are they going to go, oh man, what do we do now? Should we make a report, or we just didn't hear that? I don't know, man. She probably, you know, got her drinky on, and, you know, Doug just had to straighten her out a little bit. So let's just leave it go. I mean, that's incredible. What's happened to this country? We never used to have issues like this, did we? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But, so I've been thinking, all right, who in my circles has gotten handsy with women? You know, who do I know? And I don't know a soul. And that made me feel good about myself. Not in my inner circle, not in my, say, circle outside the inner circle, not even in my outer circle or circles. In other words, not even a guy that you kind of sort of know at the bar, but don't even really, you know, we don't know where each other lives. We don't know our last names. We just like, hey, Sam, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Yeah, let me tell you about my first wife. Yeah, she's a real bitch. I had to straighten her out a couple times. Just, you know, blah, blah, blah. She would, you know, mouth off, and I'd have to. I don't even know anyone like that. So, you know, this trailer trash comment from Jane, it's kind of like, well, no. We don't have any trailer trash, at least in my circles. You know, I live in a barn, but I don't know anybody that beats women. So I don't have a clue what goes through Doug Emhoff's head. He's just a piece of shit bully from where I could see. And it's just totally remarkable because the Democrats hold themselves out as these sainted champions of women. And they're nothing of the sort. They're nothing of the sort. They're cowardly bullies. So, you know, this guy's going to potentially be one of the most powerful men in America, if not the world, and he likes to beat women. He likes to beat women. You know, and my wife, who's going to probably vote Democrat, probably, just because if you knew my wife, you'd say probably. You know, yeah, she's always voted. I don't know that she's ever not voted Democrat. I wonder if she knows this story. I'm sure she doesn't because it's been successfully hidden by the media. But I wonder what she would think of it. You know, I just don't. And I'm a coward. I admit it. When it comes to my wife, it's just easier that way. When you tell her stuff that she doesn't want to hear, you know, it's just not a comfortable situation for me. So, you know, I just leave her be. And she doesn't listen to me anyway. If I told her, you know, the guy married to the candidate that you're voting for beats his ex-girlfriend, does that bother you? Oh, you know, that'd make her want to vote for Kamala Harris even more. So, you know, I may work on that and find a workaround to get that information to my wife. If it doesn't come from me, then there's a possibility that she may actually listen to it. So I just found that completely remarkable. All right, hurricanes. One is still there. I mean, it depends who you listen to. They almost certainly have not found all the bodies yet, and it's been almost 2 weeks. So the federal response to the Helene disaster has been a joke, laughable, awful. Shows the Biden and Harris administration for who they are. Complete, total incompetence. And I believe it is starting to hurt her in the polls. People are somewhat paying attention. It's like it's starting to seep into their consciousness despite the Soviet-esque blockade of information on this. Plus, you have to somewhat pay attention to it because there's another huge hurricane that's about to hit Florida. So the word hurricane is starting to resonate with even the most dispassionate, not paying attention voter. Harris knows this is an issue. She tried to jump in. I guess her solution was that she was going to somehow put it on the Republicans that they are playing politics with the hurricanes. And it's like, you're such a fool. If you wanted to do good politics with these disasters, what you could have done is got the Army of Engineers down to North Carolina last week. I still don't think they're there. You could have gotten the National Guard or the Army in there just with the regular Army. Get bodies down there. None of this has been done. It's been 12 days and there's still people that are in trees apparently. Well, maybe not in the trees, but there's certainly bodies buried under landslides that haven't been dug out yet. So her solution is she calls up DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and of course he's not going to help her or take her call. Why? It's like, oh, hey, Kamala Harris is on the phone. Okay, she's not the president. She has really no authority whatsoever, but she wants to make sure everything's okay down there in Florida. And, Ron DeSantis is like, yeah, got it. We got it handled. So, just not going to talk to her. What's the point? So, of course, Harris runs to the nearest reporter and says, he's not taking my calls. He's not a team player. He doesn't want to help. He wants to make this all about him. It's like, it is all about him. He's the governor of Florida. Like DeSantis said, she has no role here. She's never called me once in the almost 4 years she's been vice president. Now suddenly, and on this storm, she wants to pretend like she's got a role in this. She doesn't. She has no role whatsoever. He says, I'm talking to the president of the United States. That's Joe Biden. It's not Kamala Harris. So Harris looks like an idiot in this exchange. She looks like a total moron. Not only that, Biden, I don't know if he's doing this on purpose or not, but lately he has been doing a lot to hurt Harris. Just, like I said, whether it's because he's a drooling puddle of mush or, he actually has enough brain cells left to rub together to say, I'm still kind of angry about what happened to me. And, I'm just going to make sure I stick it to old Kamala Harris where I can. He basically said, hey, everything's fine. DeSantis is working with me. We're working with him. Everything's cool. Now, he kind of has to say that because if he throws DeSantis under the bus, well, then that focuses all the attention on their lack of a response in North Carolina. And saying, well, DeSantis is doing a terrible job. And then everybody's going to go, well, wait a minute now. What kind of job are you doing? Because everybody down in North Carolina says you suck. Not even the Democrats that live in Asheville, and there are a lot of Democrats that live in Asheville, if you can find any under the rubble and get them a freaking cell phone that works, even they're going to tell you, hey, there's really not a whole lot of people here from FEMA to help us out right now. So everybody says that the federal response to Helene has been terrible. So this is hurting Harris. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, how do you know that? Well, why does she go on 60 Minutes? Why did she do that? She's losing. Why is she going on doing all these interviews? She's losing. I said to myself, there's probably going to be a bunch of polls here in the next few days that are going to show Harris's lead in certain areas expanding. Because this is right around the time where the Democrats push the limits of their polling lies. Their propaganda. These polls are propaganda. I've told you people that again and again and again. They're not designed to tell you who's going to win. They're designed to make you think and do things. Think that the Republicans have no chance, not be enthusiastic about the Republicans' chances, not volunteer, not give money to the campaigns. That's what these lies are designed to do. And that's what's happening. The New York Times came out today with a poll, national poll, Harris up 3. The Morning Consult, they pushed their number up to 6. Now Harris up by 6. None of this is true. I mean, the idea that Harris is going to win this election 53 to 47, not a chance. It's a lie. So they know this. They're doing this intentionally to, people are voting right now. People are voting right now. This is voting month, I guess, if you will. And it is what it is. I'm not going to launch into a dissertation about how it's wrong and un-American. It's just the rules as they are. So, yeah. Now what they'll do then as we get closer to voting day, then they're going to tighten the polls up a little bit and make it look like, hey, there's this big late surge for Trump. And it's never been, the sentiment in the country hasn't changed. It is where it is. It doesn't move around that much. But they're going to make you think that there's this sudden late surge for Trump because they have to say, make their polls look like they're half accurate. Well, our last poll showed that we were only off by a few points. Yeah, but a month ago you said Harris was up by 12. And she was never up by 12. You lied. You knew it. You lied. But no, that's what our polls showed. And there was this, people changed their minds in the last month. Bullshit. People didn't change anything. You lied a month ago, and now you're telling us a little more what's true because you don't want to be called out for the fraud pollster that you are. So that's the game. That's always been the game. I still think that Trump, if you look at the polls and compare him to where he's been historically, is in pretty good shape. You know, he's polling better than he ever has. He has consistently throughout this cycle. So I'm still feeling, pretty good about where these polls show him. The one thing I felt pretty enthusiastic about here in this last 36 hours is the betting markets. For the first time, I follow an aggregate of the betting markets on Real Clear Politics, which takes Polymarket's probably one of the premier betting marketplaces, if you will, where you can bet on who's going to win. And then there's some offshore sports books like Bovada, where they'll also take bets on the election. So they aggregate a number of these places, and Harris has always had a very small lead in the past, say, 2 weeks, 2-3 points. In the last 36 hours, it's flipped, where Trump is now ahead by a good 2-3 points. And it's almost like, what happened? I think a lot of these things are coalescing to hurt Harris. The hurricane response, the 60 Minutes interview, where Harris repeated her nonsense to a wider audience. And to 60 Minutes credit, I hate to give these guys any credit at all because they're in the total tank for the Democrats. So any modicum of fairness that they show, we all go, oh my God, wow, it's so great. They suck. They suck. But, just an act, I forget who coined the frame, in an act of random drive-by journalism, they would ask her questions like, you've taken these liberal positions throughout your career and now you're a 180 over here on the other side. What do you believe? No one knows what to believe. And she gave some word salad nonsensical answer about consensus, but my values haven't changed. It's like, okay, so you could have stopped there with consensus and maybe said it a little more intelligently and had an answer. In other words, okay, I've decided that the American people are not ready for Medicare for all, that we're not ready to nationalize our health system. But I think in order to move in that direction, I'm more willing to compromise and take a more moderate position in order to, but I still, believe in Medicare for all. Even that would be a better answer, but she just wants you to believe she believes in anything and everything. And American people are seeing this foolishness and going, you really don't believe in anything, do you? I can't make sense of what you believe. You're telling me sort of kind of that you're taking moderate positions, or at least your commercials do. You never say anything. Harris never says anything. She never says what she's for. She didn't say in any interview she's ever given that she's for fracking. She's never said she's against fracking in any interview, except you got to go back to her 2019 debate, where, of course, she was 100% going to ban fracking and has never said otherwise. As Megyn Kelly likes to point out repeatedly, she points to a vice presidential debate in 2020 saying Joe Biden's not going to ban fracking. She never said anything about her own predilection of whether she wants to ban fracking or not. She just said Biden's not going to ban fracking. She didn't talk about herself. So she's never personally said this stuff. So everybody's just kind of like, we don't know. She's just, so I think just her total, she's a leftist communist. We know this. We're trying to get this across to the people not paying attention, which is most of the country. She's a communist. She's trying to fool you into thinking she's some kind of moderate. She's nothing of the sort. She's a liar. She's in a bad position. She's a communist, but Americans don't want communism. So if she would just get out there like Bernie Sanders and sing it, I love communism, people would say, oh, okay, well, at least that's honest, but I really don't like communism. So she'd probably lose. So she's trying to fool you. It's probably good politics in that it's probably the only path she has, but it's so difficult to pull off. I don't know if she's a good enough politician to pull off the deception. Time is on her side. She could run out the clock possibly, but every day as it gets closer to the election, she gets more and more unpopular. Good for us. This is hurting her. The Jew-Muslim thing over there in the Middle East. It's awesome watching because, I was kind of ambivalent when this thing started back a year ago, where Hamas brutally and viciously attacked Israel. And my thought was, look, I just don't want to get pulled into World War III, where one of our friends gets in a dust-up and we got to go over there. Next thing you know, it's a whole freaking world war. Kind of like World War I guess. Now I'm kind of like, well, you know what? Go Israel. These Muslims, these are bad guys. They don't want to work and play well with others. I think Israel, it's not a moral equivalent. Well, these people just want a home. No, they hate Jews. They hate Jews. They just hate the Jewish people. They hate the fact that they got a place to go. They just hate them, and they want them gone. They want to eradicate them from the earth. How do you root for that? How do you be friends with that? So go Israel. I got no issue with whatever they're doing over there. And Harris, of course, go Muslims. She wants to come right out and say it, but she still needs to placate the Jews who are largely in the Democrat Party. In other words, they're not living in some double-wide trailer in Kentucky who we're never going to vote for anyway. These are a big part of people that are going to vote for her. So she has to try to keep, they're all in her party. The Jews are in her party and the Muslims are in her party. And they hate each other. And she's trying to get both their votes at the same time. And all she's doing is pissing them both off, which is great for us. I have no idea why any Jewish people would vote for Kamala Harris. She's made it as clear as can be that she's an enemy of Israel. She's more or less said it in her word salads. She couldn't even bring herself in the 60-minute interview to say that Israel's an ally of ours. It's ridiculous. I mean, she said, well, I think the American people and Israeli people are allies. Oh, I see. So the government of Israel, the state of Israel, they're not our friends. What, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? These guys are our friends. They've always been our friends. So this is just, I think it's hurting her. The Muslims want her to just come out whole hog and just say, river to sea, I'm all for the eradication of the Israeli state. And then, she'd win Michigan, all right, absolutely. They'd all go, yeah, all right. But, perhaps some normal Americans might go, that's kind of really evil. You're really getting in bed with the bad guys there, aren't you, Kamala? So that's hurting her, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I said, Trump taking the lead in the betting markets, I feel pretty good about that. Let's see if that holds now with these fake national polls coming out, trying to push you. It's not a coincidence that Harris has this bad 48 to 72 hours here where Trump suddenly surges in the betting markets, and then boom, the Morning Consult says, whoa, she's up 6. That's the biggest lead ever. She has her biggest lead ever. Come on now. How can the betting markets be thinking Trump's going to win? You're fools. So I want to see if the betting markets believe it or don't believe it. That's where the correct answer is. The betting markets have been more accurate historically than your pollster experts, your modeling gurus like Nate Silver. I think Nate Silver is actually involved in one of these betting markets. I got to double check that, but I thought he was hooked up with this poly market in some fashion. So I think even he would say there's something to the betting markets being a predictor of what's going to happen. So yeah, I want to check the betting markets later this afternoon and see if they've been affected one way or the other with some of these, what I would say, fake national polls coming out saying, Harris has a bigger lead than ever. All I know is around here in Pennsylvania, I could think of 3 people who were loud and proud Harris voters with big signs in their yard. One dude had a freaking bed sheet up in a tree, no signs. They had their Biden, that's what I'm trying to say. They had their Biden signs in 2020, Biden signs, and nothing this cycle, nothing saying Harris, nothing. I think that's significant to me, the fact that the Trump signs far outweigh the Harris signs as compared to the Biden signs. I knew 20 was going to be a bad deal because there were way too many Biden signs around here to make me comfortable. And sure enough, Biden did win. Whereas Harris, not seeing a whole lot of support on the ground for her. I got my ballot. I have it in my house. I am going to fill it out. It's going in I'm going to drop it off Thursday just because that's the day I'm going by the drop-off point, so I don't have to make a special trip. But I'm voting Thursday. Have you voted yet? Do it. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it. Do it immediately. Go do it right now. Like I said, I'm not doing it immediately. I'm doing it Thursday. But don't wait. What if you get hit by a bus? What if you wash up in a tree? For God's sakes, do it. Vote. The Democrats aren't waiting. They're doing it right now. You should do it right now. Don't wait. Cast your vote early. Cast it as soon as you possibly can. and then try to get other people to do the same. This is basically going to be the whole game. Can we get our people to the polls? They're going to have their people at the polls, and if we don't get all of our people there, we're going to lose. And then, well, that'll be a future episode. What if we lose? You know, that'll be a future episode. This is what we get to look forward to. Oh, and it won't be a fun episode. So, I'm Eric Arnold. I believe in free speech. Fill out your vote. Mail it in today. Do this. Donald J. Trump, 2024. And why? Because I believe in free speech.